Hey guys, Christy Arnett here, and I've got JC Tran to talk strategy today. So I was figuring we should talk about playing the Maniac at table because nowadays it seems like there's always one there. So, okay, so you're playing in a tournament and someone establishes themselves as the Maniac, playing a lot of hands, playing really aggressively, raising a lot, bluffing, showing, whatever. So once you notice that, and let's say he's to your right, how do you adjust your play?
Well, if he's to my right, that's like the best
Perfect.
situation. You know, what I mean, I find a lot of like players making the mistake of coming after the maniac. You should never come after the maniac. I mean, you could set yourself up for a lot of mistakes. I mean, if you have position on him, the most important thing is just to you know play in position, and majority of the time you're in position, except when like he's the button, you're the small blind. But I honestly don't recommend raising the maniac. I mean, let him bet into you, especially when you have a big hand. And if he draws out, so be it. I mean, if you're willing to raise him, be ready for the all in. Be ready
Okay.
for the re raise. So like the big, don't let it come to you. Most important thing is let it come to you. Don't come after him. And sooner or later he's gonna break. He's gonna make a mistake, and you'll get his chips.
Okay, so pre-flop, um, do you suggest raising to isolate?
No, because with like I said, like re-raising a maniac, there's a good chance you're gonna face another raise.
Okay.
So like if you had like and I recommend don't play too many drawn hands. If you flop like a draw, it's gonna be very very expensive. He's not gonna check into you. He's gonna keep
Right.
betting, and like play small pairs. Try to hit a set, or if you do play like drawn hands, make sure they're like like strong enough to where when you hit top pair, like say like a king queen suited,
Okay.
king jack suited, where if you hit top pair, you're willing to put in some chips with it. Don't play like a 6-7 suited and flop. What happened? It becomes 7-3 deuce. I mean, are
Right.
you willing to call him three streets with it? So I recommend just sticking to like your solid hands and trying to flop a good flop, and sooner or later he's gonna break and he's gonna pay you off and he's gonna bluff into you. And I mean, don't my suggestion is just don't bluff him.
Okay. Don't bluff the Maniac. All right. And you said earlier that the mistake that a lot of people make is coming after them. Is that because since they see this Maniac playing so many hands, they think that maybe an ace rag is going to be good against this guy, when really you're just saying you're just putting yourself in a marginal situation?
Yeah, like maniacs, they're always. I mean, they're entitled to hands sometimes.
Right.
So like, say for instance, if he's raising six out of the 9-10 hands dealt, and out of those six, it doesn't mean that all six of them he doesn't have a hand. Two of the six he might have a monster. So you can't really overplay like a medium pair against him. Just I. Since you got positioned him, just call, and let him fire in you three streets, and you make decisions, flop, turn, river, and a lot of people when I say they come after maniacs is they force themselves to play hands where it's like tough. Like for example, like if you're not deep stack and the maniac raises and you call it like a 6-7 suited, what happens if you flop second pair? What happens if you flop a draw? Sometimes people put themselves in a situation where they have to go with it, and that's when you're risking the majority of your stack, if not all, on a draw or on one weak pair. So if you stuck to just a small pair and just call and hope for flop set, or even if like even you can smooth call them with a big pair, and sometimes other players to the left will try to squeeze, and a lot of players they try to isolate by re-raising with the ace 10 or re-raising with the ace jack, and the maniac moves all in. Now you're faced with such a big decision because ace jack and ace 10 is a strong hand against his range of hands, but like I said, he's always entitled to hands. So what happens if he wakes up with like a bigger ace or
Right.
a decent sized pair? You're either flipping or you're dog. So I don't know. I mean, my suggestion is just to be patient. Don't try to come after him. Sooner or later, you're gonna wake up with a hand and he's gonna fire right into you.
Sometimes it's tough waiting for those hands because this guy, he's going to give his chips away. And it's so hard to just wait for a hand because what if someone else gets his chips?
Yeah,
But that's definitely good advice. And calling down, do you think that helps with keeping the pot small? Is keeping the pot small the best idea against
Yeah,
Mania?
that's exactly what I mean when you just play position. Don't raise him and just call. That way you keep the pot small. And sometimes he's not really gonna bluff too much when the pot's small. But if the pot's big, if he's gonna bluff, it's gonna be like an all-in bet or a really big bet that's gonna either cripple you or bust you. So if you keep it small, he's not gonna say, for instance, if the pot on the turn is like 2,000 and you guys each have $40,000 stacks, he's not gonna fire 40K.
Right.
He's gonna bet, But if you say, for instance, if he made it 600 to go pre-flop and you re-raise him to 2,000, now he raises you to like 6 or 7,000. You call. All of a sudden, instead of playing like a $2,000 pot, you're in there playing a $13,000-$14,000 pot, and by the time the turn hits, you're facing an all-in bet most likely. So if you keep it small, it's gonna be hard for him to bluff. And you can actually call with like a have enough chips to call with second pair or even third pair if you think it's good. But my suggestion is, like a lot of people see, oh my gosh, he's giving his chips away to that guy, to this guy, or whatever, and you feel like you need to come in and like get some. But that's not how it really works. You just got to be patient. Hopefully you pick up the hands. If you don't, if the maniac bluff all his chips off the other guy, so be it.
So be it.
There's going to be more maniacs. So just be patient. Don't force yourself. Sometimes people it's not like they're jealous, but they're like, oh, I better hurry up and get it before he busts it all off. So just wait, be patient. That's my biggest advice.
So what if this guy's on your left? Then how do you come into pots or?
That's really tough. Having a maniac left, you really gotta, be willing to set more traps. Like say for instance, like, limp with big pairs or like, but like if you do limp with it and he decides to limp behind you, don't go broke off of it. But if you limp with a big pair and say he re-raised, then you can trap him by re-raising and hopefully he gets put it in. Or same situation. You could play small pairs, play hands that hit and miss. You can't play too many drawing hands unless you're willing to go with it. And I really don't think that's really the correct strategy to play against a maniac, is to put all your money in on the draw. But if you keep the pot small, you can actually check call them all through streets. And get reads off every street and see what happens. But having a maniac your left is like probably one of the toughest spot to be in.
Yeah. Especially in tournament play when the blinds and antes are so important. Do you feel like you raise less when he's behind you, or do you still go with your play, like if you're in the cutoff and you need those blinds and antes, or go for steals? Or
well, it all depends on what type of maniac he is. Like a lot of maniac will re-raise a lot. A lot of maniacs will just call a lot. So if you think if you can just call a lot, it's okay to raise and he can call, then you can play the flop. But if he's the type of guy that re-raises a lot, you got to be like, if you're gonna put in a raise, be willing to be ready to call re-raise with it. So say for instance, if you do want to decide you want to play a small pair or a mediocre drawn hand, 8-9 suited, Jack 10 suited, you can limp and let him raise and call, and you keep it small that way. Sooner or later you're gonna hit, and like he can beat you in 2-3 small pots, but the minute you hit, you're gonna double through him, or you're gonna beat him for like a really big pot. So, just play it small, keep it small. Don't play a big pot unless you have it.
Is there an optimal table image for yourself to set up when you know that there's a maniac at the table?
Well, if you want to have the bluffing image, not the bluffing image, but you want to be able to still have the the ability to bluff. Show some solid hands to them. Say, look, buddy, I got kings, I got aces, or look, I got a set and stuff like that. So he can kind of like, okay, this guy's not really bluffing too much. Then, the minute that you get the image, across to him, you can start bluffing here and there, pick your spots. But if you want to play like maniac versus him, you're actually like jeopardizing, a chance of being eliminated. I really think like playing maniac against another maniac is not like the best way to play. I really think if you play solid, he's gonna break, because maniacs are usually the type of guys that they don't believe you. So they will try to make big calls against you too, even when you have a big hand. So I've had situations where I've been at a table with maniacs, and they've given me a lot of problems.
Gotcha. Well, what do you think about the maniac playing style? Do you think it's profitable in the long run, or is that just for maybe like a few people? Because I know you're known for being super tight, aggressive, and very solid and focused at the table.
I think maniac play is like successful short term, and you definitely need to run good, But you notice a lot of maniac players, they don't last long in tournament poker. They're gonna go broke, because sooner or later people are gonna say, oh, he's a maniac, and they're not gonna believe you, and you lose your bluffing ability, and you got to really definitely hit hands. So if you go into a tournament where you're running cold for an hour, you can go broke. But if like I've been known to play like a maniac sometimes too, but I'm
Right.
not like a out of control maniac. You know what I mean? Sometimes I get super hyper aggressive when the table lets me. Sometimes I get super hyper aggressive when I feel like, like I have a chip stack to be able to dominate and put people, just tournament life at stake. So I don't like to play maniac style when I'm coming in. We all have the same stack,
Right.
or if I'm short.
Okay.
I mean, I mix it up. It all depends on what I think will work with that group of guys at the table. If I feel like, okay, I can get away playing like a maniac at this table, I'm going to do it. If not, then I sit back and I play solid.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, JC, for coming by.
No, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
All right. Christiana with JC Tran for Card Player TV.